Bodyshop, and we stopped by the iCar booth and talk a little bit about the professional development track that iCar launched this summer, right?
Yeah.
So how's it going?
Well, it's going actually very well. We have seen some pretty incredible results so far. The professional development program, probably one of the coolest things about it is that it was developed by the industry. So the transition has been quite natural. It's been very natural, actually. And there's just, well, the industry is telling us all along through the development it made a lot of sense. So we've been launching now since July 21st, 4.5-year transition. And so it's going really well.
Right. Has there been any unforeseen benefits or surprises for you this
Well, you know, the industry was very wise collectively as we were coached as to what we should do. And that's how the professional development program was actually developed. One of the things is, you know, there's been a lot of unforeseen benefits. One of them, for example, is a lot of the managers that have already started to align their businesses and their employees with the framework that the program has said, for example, that managers have a framework from which they can determine which technician should get which job, who is actually appropriate, which is the appropriate technician to work on a certain job. And that alone has been a big benefit. That's just one example.
Any difficulties or any problems with the launch that you've learned from over this process?
Well, there's no doubt that we knew that we would have to get into the launch and into the transition before we would really have some idea. There were just some things that we wouldn't know until we started living into this new world. One of the things, of course, has been the communication. We have over 1,000 volunteers that are inter-industry volunteers in about 400 markets across the U.S. So getting the word out has been pretty good. Now that people know that there's a professional development program, and they kind of know what it's about, that's one thing. But now they're starting to get into the details of, well, how does that apply to me, or how does it apply to our business? And it's easy for there to be some misconceptions. Most of the time when there's a change, I know I do, I always think, well, it's going to cost more money, it's going to be a lot more trouble, and there's some reason why they did it that's less than probably ideal. The fact of the matter is that the program was developed by the industry. The industry had told us that training needed to make more sense to help with operational efficiency. And so, at the end, shops that are looking at this, if there's a dramatic difference in cost from what they may be paying for the training today, there's probably some misconceptions or misunderstanding. One of them, for example, the program requires that gold class business have platinum knowledge in 4 key areas. And so that requirement a lot of times, not a lot of times, a few times has been misinterpreted to mean that everyone must meet that highest criteria, and that's not really true. So that the training cost should be, if that were the case, it would miss the mark, it wouldn't be practical, it wouldn't have the value that it does. It wouldn't be, but that's not the case.
And I think one of the most important things to remember is this is what we're going through next week, right? We've got 4 years to kind of get comfortable with it.
That's absolutely right. The program will not reach its full requirements until the year of 2014. So again, the industry told us we couldn't flip a switch and do it overnight. If we did, it wouldn't be practical.
And I know now when I look at the training paths, sometimes it's a little overwhelming for me to look at them. Yeah. But if there's shops out there that's got some concerns on how it's going to apply to them, their local iCar people can help them out, right?
Oh, absolutely. And first of all, iCar's purpose is to serve the industry. So when shops and individuals are looking at how this program applies to them and how they can get the benefit of it, they absolutely need to know that we're here to help. Our website, i-car.com, there's a lot of information there. They can go into their My iCar section of that and really see where they're at in the program. They can also call at 800-422-7872, our main customer care line, and start having conversations with our customer service reps. And then beyond that, our regional managers, our volunteers, and our instructors have all been trained to really help the shops work through the program, because we sincerely want to help everyone understand the program. And if they have an interest in aligning with the program, we certainly want to.
So you've done a lot this year. 2010 has been very busy. What are kind of the steps you're going to go forward into closing out this quarter and moving into 2011?
There's some real significant things that are coming in the program. We committed to the industry next year, first quarter of 2011, that we would begin to offer test out. Now keep in mind the professional development program really is about roles, what it is a person needs to know within that role, and then what training there is in the industry that actually speaks or achieves those goals and those knowledge areas. And then we have the training record so that we can maintain where a person actually is in that. In the accomplishment of training knowledge areas or competencies, one of the things we committed to was a test out option. Been a technician for 20 years. There's some basic things that the professional development program says I need to know, and I feel that I know it. In the spring of 2011, there will be the option that instead of going to a basic class, I can actually test out, and that will significantly, it'll save time, it'll save some expense there as well. So again, we don't want anybody in a class that shouldn't belong.
One of the things I hear questions about a lot, and if you can clear it up, in the past we worked on points. So classes were points. X number of points got me platinum status or whatever.
Right.
Are the points done and we're really on a track now, or are the points still here?
That's a good question. Right now, because the industry, as we've seen, has been after points, chasing points, very aware of points. The program was really about points. In the transition, this first phase of the transition, we're still counting points. In 2012, we will transition away from points into hours. And the reason is the industry's told us, don't box everything into a 4-hour class. If there's 2 hours or 2.5 hours of information, make it a 2.5-hour class. So a person would actually go to a class, maybe 5 hours long, get 5 hours credit, 2.5-hour class, get 2.5-hour credit. But that transition doesn't come full circle into the accumulative of hours, or the counting of hours, until 2012.
Now, when I look at the paths for the different job descriptions in the program, there's some specific classes there, which honestly we can select very well. How does alliance training play into that?
Well, alliance training, the industry training alliances, what we've done is, of course, we've worked with a lot of the industry who have training programs to identify what it is that their training programs teach, and then we're able to catalog, if you will, that into what knowledge areas are accomplished by taking certain training. And so they're very much a part of this program. And a lot of the frame machine companies, the paint companies, the adhesives and companies, there's just a lot of different involvement within the industry for the alliance.
That's one of the questions I get a lot when it was announced was, when you look at the path, does my alliance credit not get me on the path anymore? And I think that's a misconception.
It absolutely does, and it's important because the elimination of redundant training was important. It has been important for years. There's just too much for an individual to learn to be going back through some of the same things over and over. So yeah, the industry training alliance is a big part of what ICAR does as far as reporting the credits and so forth. And if anybody has any questions about the alliance, they certainly should contact ICAR.
Jeff, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. SEMA's been amazing and a large show for us all.
Yeah.
I think we got some exposure to some audiences that weren't originally in our field, and hopefully that will kind of share the knowledge and education with those people as well.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll take a little break and maybe we'll see you in the first part of 2011.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.